They say every American family looks picture perfect on Facebook until you zoom in and realize the smiles are staged, the kitchen smells like burned frozen pizza, and the couple hasn't touched each other since Obama was in office. That was my family. My wife and I were the couple people envied at barbecues, the ones with the suburban 2-story house, a Labrador that never stopped barking, and matching gym memberships because apparently marriage means synchronizing your misery. But deep down, something was rotting, and it wasn't just the leftover casserole in the fridge. At first, it was subtle. My wife, Emily, became health conscious, which in American suburban code means I'm about to start cheating, but I'll disguise it as cardio. She started hitting the gym at 6 a.m. sharp, coming home glowing, not with sweat, but with the suspicious radiance of someone who just discovered a new religion called muscles and protein shakes. Don't get me wrong, I tried to be supportive. I even told myself, maybe this is good for the family. Maybe this will inspire me too. Except while she was toning her abs, I was toning my skills in microwaving Hot Pockets. Then came the signs. She started wearing lipstick to yoga. Lipstick to yoga. That's like wearing a tuxedo to mow the lawn. Nobody does downward dog in cherry red unless they're planning an after-party with a man who can bench press their marriage vows. When I asked, she laughed and said, "Babe, self-care." But something about it screamed toxic love. You know the type, the kind that looks glossy on the outside but is hollow inside, like an Instagram filter with betrayal hiding behind it. And then, of course, the trainer. He wasn't just a trainer. He was the sort of guy Hollywood would cast as the dude your wife will inevitably leave you for in a Netflix drama. Tall, jawline sharp enough to cut steak, biceps that looked like they had their own zip code. Rumor had it he could do 100 push-ups while quoting Shakespeare. Meanwhile, I pulled a muscle tying my sneakers. He was everything I wasn't, and suddenly Emily couldn't stop talking about Coach Matt. I swear, if she said Coach Matt recommends protein powder one more time, I was ready to declare him a terrorist threat to my family. The paranoia began to eat me alive. Americans love conspiracy theories. Bigfoot, JFK, Area 51, but nothing compared to the conspiracy I was cooking in my own head. Was the gym just a front? Was the elliptical a portal to a secret cheating dimension? Was I living inside a reality show called American Infidelity, Suburban Edition? I couldn't tell any more. Every time she came home tired from cardio, I imagined her in some candle-lit locker room, whispering sweet nothings about core strength to this Greek god trainer. My friends didn't help either. Over beers, I hinted at my suspicions, hoping someone would tell me I was crazy. Instead, my buddy Dave said, "Bro, if my wife started wearing perfume to Pilates, I'd install a tracking chip on her yoga mat." Americans have this strange mix of paranoia and passive aggressiveness. We'll act chill in public, but behind the scenes, we're downloading spy apps like it's Christmas. So yes, I checked her phone, and yes, I saw the texts. Short ones. Simple. Innocent looking. Great session today. See you tomorrow. Push harder next time. But in the language of cheating, these were confessions of infidelity written in dumbbells and sweat. And yet I couldn't confront her. Not yet. Because here's the thing about betrayal. It's not just about the act, it's about the performance. You want to catch them not just guilty, but dramatically guilty, Oscar-winning guilty, so that when you finally deliver your speech about betrayal and revenge, the audience in your head stands up and applauds. Americans love drama. We built entire industries on it, from reality TV to political campaigns. And I wanted mine to be spectacular. So I played the role of the clueless husband, smiling at backyard barbecues while my wife pretended her gym bag was filled with hope and sweat towels, not lies and infidelity. Every time she kissed me goodnight, I imagined her whispering apologies to Coach Matt in Morse code through protein shake recipes. And every time she called me babe, I wondered if she accidentally almost called me bench press. But deep down, as much as the betrayal burned, I began to taste the sweet possibility of revenge. Not the messy, scream-in-the-driveway kind of revenge, but the subtle, cinematic kind where you sit back, sip whiskey, and let the guilty party crumble under the weight of their own cheating lies. It was almost funny, almost parody. My marriage wasn't just collapsing. It was collapsing in slow motion, with dramatic music playing in the background only I could hear. Little did Emily know, her lipstick yoga sessions were fueling something bigger than she ever imagined. This wasn't just infidelity. This was the origin story of my transformation from the faithful, clueless husband into the man who would turn betrayal into the most ironic, twisted form of forgiveness America had ever seen. The thing about betrayal is it doesn't knock on the front door politely, like a neighbor asking for sugar. No, betrayal slips in through the back window wearing cologne and carrying a gym towel. By the time you smell it, it's already sitting on your couch, flipping through Netflix recommendations like it owns the place. That's exactly how my wife's infidelity with her gym trainer began to unfold, slowly, mockingly, like a bad sitcom that I didn't know I was starring in. I started noticing little clues, the kind of details you only pick up when your brain turns into a full-time FBI agency fueled by coffee and paranoia. There were random gym check-ins on her social media, except she'd forgotten that her car was parked in front of the house at the same time. She'd text me, "Just finished cardio, babe," while the car sat out front like a witness in the court of infidelity. Sometimes she came home sore in ways yoga couldn't explain, limping like she'd just survived a gladiator match. When I asked, she brushed it off with, "Coach Matt is really pushing me to my limits." Yeah, I'll bet he was. Then came the credit card charges, protein shakes from places she never used to shop, receipts for private training sessions at odd hours. Americans love subscriptions. We subscribe to everything from Netflix to meal kits. But apparently my wife had subscribed to a deluxe cheating package with a free side of betrayal. One night, my suspicion hit maximum capacity, like an overstuffed burrito about to explode. Emily said she had a late-night spin class. At 10 p.m., spin class has the same believability as I'm going to a book club when you haven't read a book since high school. So I did what every betrayed, caffeine-charged American husband does. I followed her. Now I wasn't smooth about it. My idea of stealth was driving my Honda Civic 3 blocks behind her SUV while humming the Mission Impossible theme song under my breath. I even wore sunglasses at night because apparently I thought Tom Cruise would be proud. She pulled up at the gym, lights dimmed, parking lot empty. I parked across the street, crouched behind the steering wheel like I was in some low-budget spy movie. And then I saw it. My wife, Emily, slipping inside, but not alone. No, right there beside her was him, the trainer, Mr. Biceps himself. Their hands brushed as they walked, her laughter echoing in the dark like a soundtrack to my humiliation. It wasn't just cheating, it was betrayal in HD. It was toxic love written across the parking lot in neon. My heart wasn't just breaking, it was filing for divorce, calling its lawyer, and changing its Netflix password all at once. I debated storming in, screaming, flipping over treadmills like an action hero fueled by revenge. But then I remembered. Americans don't just want justice, we want a good story. And a good story requires patience, evidence, and a climax so dramatic it could win a Golden Globe. So I stayed put, gripping the steering wheel while sweat pooled on my forehead. My wife disappeared inside with her trainer, and time slowed to a crawl. Minutes felt like hours, and my brain staged an entire Shakespearean play of betrayal behind my eyes. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I snuck out of the car and crept toward the gym window. And there it was, not subtle, not innocent, not Coach Matt correcting her posture or helping her with squats. No, this was straight-up infidelity in the wild, unfolding right there under fluorescent lights and a motivational poster that ironically read, "Push through the pain." Oh, the irony. They weren't pushing dumbbells, they were pushing the limits of my marriage vows. The sight nearly knocked the air out of me. It wasn't just that she cheated, it was the audacity, the casualness, like my family, our years together, our dreams, were nothing more than background noise to her gym romance. My hands trembled, my chest ached, and I swear I could hear the ghost of every betrayed husband in America whispering in unison, "Revenge, revenge, revenge." But instead of bursting in, I pulled out my phone. Snap, snap, snap. Americans document everything, birthdays, brunches, even bathroom selfies. So why not document betrayal? I took pictures, shaky but undeniable, the kind of proof that would silence any excuses. With every photo, I felt my grief morph into power. This wasn't just heartbreak anymore. This was a weapon. I walked back to my car, sat in the driver's seat, and stared at the glowing screen. Evidence of betrayal glowing in pixels. It was absurd, almost parody, like life had turned into some twisted reality show called Toxic Love, Suburban Edition. But as ridiculous as it felt, it was also the moment everything shifted. Because now it wasn't about her cheating. It wasn't about my broken heart. It was about what came next, the revenge. And let me tell you, America loves a comeback story. You'd think that after discovering infidelity, most people would scream, throw plates, maybe even burn their cheating spouse's gym clothes in the driveway like some suburban witch trial. But no, not me. I wasn't going to let betrayal turn me into just another cliché headline. Local man loses it after cheating scandal, neighbors pretend to care. I wanted something better, something cinematic, something so over the top that even Netflix executives would lean back in their leather chairs and say, "Damn, this guy knows how to produce drama." See, betrayal hurts, but revenge? Revenge is art. And like any true American raised on superhero movies and conspiracy documentaries, I knew my revenge had to be theatrical. Quiet, calculated, devastating. Emily thought she was living in a love story with her gym trainer, but what she didn't know was that I was about to turn her rom-com into a horror franchise. Step 1. Play dumb. Americans are experts at smiling through rage. We do it at Thanksgiving dinners every year. So, I acted normal. I kissed her on the cheek, told her dinner was great, even when she reheated frozen lasagna, and pretended not to notice when she forgot her phone in the bathroom for the 5th night in a row. Inside, though, I was a volcano of betrayal waiting to erupt, sipping whiskey like a Bond villain while I planned her downfall. Step 2. Gather more proof. The photos from the gym were good, but I wanted evidence so ironclad it would make the Pentagon jealous. I dug through text messages, email receipts, even the Notes app on her phone where she had listed out training goals. Spoiler, the goals had nothing to do with fitness and everything to do with her trainer's abs. Americans love receipts, literally and metaphorically. And I was building a collection so airtight, even a team of corporate lawyers couldn't spin it. Step 3. Choose the stage. Revenge isn't revenge unless it's public. I thought about exposing her at church on Sunday, letting Pastor Bob announce her sins between hymns. But no, too small. Then I thought about blasting the proof on Facebook, tagging the entire family. Tempting, but still not enough. Finally, I realized the perfect stage, our anniversary dinner. Nothing screams poetic justice like turning happy marriage celebration into toxic love funeral. So I made reservations at a fancy steakhouse downtown, the kind where the waiters wear ties and pronounce Merlot with a French accent. Emily, of course, was thrilled. She thought she was winning. She even bought a new dress, red, the color of passion. or in this case, the color of infidelity. That night, I sat across from her at the candlelit table, swirling my glass of wine like a mastermind. She smiled, told me I looked handsome, and for a moment I almost laughed at the absurdity. Here was a woman who thought she was starring in a romantic anniversary dinner while I was about to debut The Betrayal Chronicles, Live Edition. When the waiter brought the dessert, I pulled out my phone. Not to take a selfie, not to check sports scores. No, I placed it on the table, screen glowing with the pictures of her and Coach Matt. Her smile froze. Her fork slipped. For the first time in months, she didn't have an excuse ready. I leaned in and whispered, "Happy anniversary, Emily. Here's to infidelity, family betrayal, and toxic love." The color drained from her face faster than wine from her glass. Around us, people were pretending not to stare, but Americans love a scandal more than they love free refills. Whispers filled the restaurant. Couples elbowed each other. A woman at the next table mouthed, "Oh my God," like she'd just seen an alien. Emily stammered, tried to explain, but every excuse sounded like parody. It was just training. Really? In the locker room? At midnight? He understands me. Sure, in the universal language of cheating. I didn't even need to raise my voice. The silence was my weapon. Her shame was louder than anything I could say. And here's the twist. I didn't yell. I didn't curse. I didn't even leave. I calmly finished my dessert, paid the bill, and walked out like a man who had just dropped the mic on his marriage. Because true revenge isn't messy. It's clean, surgical, devastating in its precision. As I drove home, I felt it. Power, freedom. The betrayal still stung, but I was no longer the victim. I was the director of this twisted play. And she was left stumbling on stage, lines forgotten, reputation collapsing. And the best part, the story wasn't over yet. Because once the trainer ditched her, once her friends whispered behind her back, once her family called her out, she would come crawling back. She would beg. And that, my friends, was step 4. You ever notice how karma in America works like Amazon Prime? It doesn't always come the same day, but when it arrives, it hits your porch like a box you forgot you ordered. That was Emily's downfall. My little anniversary dinner stunt was just the shipping confirmation. The real package, the complete collapse of her cheating empire, arrived in the weeks that followed, and oh, it was glorious. First, Coach Matt did what every affair partner eventually does. He bailed. At first, he probably thought he'd landed the suburban jackpot, a married woman desperate for attention, ready to sneak around like a high schooler ditching class. But reality set in fast. Suddenly, she wasn't the glamorous client sneaking out for training sessions. She was a woman with baggage, a husband plotting revenge, and a family history written in betrayal. It was toxic love at its finest, exciting in the shadows, exhausting in the daylight. And so one morning, just like that, he ghosted her. No texts, no calls, no squats. Just gone. And that's when her begging began. Americans have this peculiar talent for dramatics when life turns sour. Watch any reality show and you'll see tears flowing faster than Niagara Falls. Emily went full reality TV meltdown. She cried in the kitchen, cried in the drive-in, even cried in the frozen food aisle of Walmart, where she spotted me pretending to care deeply about chicken nuggets. She wrote letters, long pathetic apologies filled with cliches like, "I made a mistake," "I was lost," and the best one, "It wasn't about you, it was about me." No kidding, Emily. Infidelity usually is. But here's where it got funny. She didn't just beg for my forgiveness. No, she begged for the performance of forgiveness. She wanted me to reassure the family, the friends, the neighbors that everything was fine. Because betrayal doesn't just break a marriage, it destroys an image. And in suburban America, image is everything. At Sunday barbecues, she used to brag about her marriage, her house, her perfect life. Now she was the punchline. And people didn't whisper quietly. They whispered loudly, the way Americans do when they pretend they're not gossiping. Did you hear about Emily? Cheated with her trainer. Pathetic. Imagine risking your whole family for protein shakes. I didn't even have to lift a finger. The community handled the revenge for me, tearing down her reputation one rumor at a time. Her social circle shrank. Moms at school stopped inviting her for coffee. Even her Instagram followers dipped. Unforgivable in American culture. Betrayal may sting, but social exile? That's the death penalty. And still, she begged. She promised to cut ties with Matt, promised counseling, promised to rebuild the family. How she tried every tactic in the American Handbook of Apologies: tears, gifts, desperate confessions. One night, she even staged a whole redemption dinner, cooking me steak, lighting candles, putting on that same red dress she wore at the steakhouse. Only this time, instead of passion, all I saw was the ghost of infidelity stitched into every thread. The thing about revenge is that it changes you. At first, I thought exposing her was the climax. But as I watched her unravel, I realized the real revenge wasn't in humiliating her. It was in reclaiming myself. Betrayal had broken me, yes, but it had also stripped away the illusion. And when she begged for forgiveness, what she was really begging for was the return of the man she thought would stay weak, stay quiet, stay hers. But that man was gone. So I gave her conditions. Americans love contracts, fine print, rules. I made it clear, forgiveness wasn't free. She wanted the marriage back? She had to work for it. Counseling sessions, full honesty, no more spin classes at midnight. And most of all, she had to face the fact that she had destroyed the very thing she bragged about to everyone, her family. Did I forgive her? That's the part people always want to know. Truth is, forgiveness is a tricky beast. Sometimes it looks like mercy. Sometimes it looks like revenge wearing a halo. I didn't rush to give it. I let her sit in the discomfort, let her beg, let her sweat like she was back in that gym. Because betrayal deserves consequence, and toxic love doesn't heal overnight. In the end, whether we stayed together or not almost didn't matter. What mattered was that I wasn't the broken man in the parking lot anymore. I was the one in control, the one holding the narrative. My wife's affair with her gym trainer had started as the worst betrayal of my life, but it became the turning point. Her toxic love became my liberation. Her infidelity became my fuel. And her begging for forgiveness? That was the sweetest soundtrack to my revenge. So when people ask how it ended, I just smile and say, she begged, I listened, and I never let her forget.